Um, Thanks for that, Jess. We're gonna switch
Well,
gears right now. We're gonna go on to this story about the Ontario government recently appointing a non-Indigenous member of Parliament to co-chair the new Indigenous Women's Advisory Council for Healing and Violence Prevention. Associate Minister of Children and Women's Issues Jill Dunlop will be joined by 11 First Nations, Métis, Inuit, and LGBTQ2S leaders. But critics are saying that should there be an Indigenous woman taking the lead on this? What do you think?
Well, I got to say, I think that this is an epic fail. 100% Indigenous women should be taking the lead on this. This is what we are talking about all of the time. We are trying to speak for ourselves. We need to do that. We need to be at the helm of things that look into murdered and missing Indigenous women and girls. We also need to be looking into human trafficking, issues with our families. I can give you 10 different names right off the top of my head of Indigenous women that can be contacted. It's a real shame that the Ford government hasn't realized that this is an easy way to reach Indigenous women. Just appoint one of us as the head of the council. Tanya Cameron is a prime example of someone who could easily lead this. She is an organizer in Kenora that has helped bring food during the pandemic to so many families in our communities. Deb Richardson, she works as a deputy minister in the Solicitor General's office as well. She is someone that could be easily tapped. And also, too, there are all the women that are working in the Ministry of the Attorney General's office, Indigenous women for murdered and missing Indigenous women and girls. There are so many women you can tap in Ontario, Indigenous women, to lead this incredibly, incredibly important council. And I don't understand why we're going with MPP Jill Dunlop. This is no disrespect to her whatsoever, but this is one of the situations where she should be standing aside and letting someone else take up the space and lead the council.
thank you for that, Tanya. The only thing that occurred to me is that I wonder if we could view Jill Dunlop as being an ally, like using her position as MPP to carry forward any of the findings, any of the conversations that happen, from the group, the Council of 11 Indigenous people. With her role, she could be the one who then takes it back to Legislative Assembly and actually could affect change. I don't know, that was still in the back of my mind. I appreciate everything you're saying, but she has the power, right or wrong, and to be an effective ally, she could really carry forward those voices to people that need to hear them.
I agree with you, Jess. This is such an opportunity for an individual to, in that leadership position, to really show true allyship. As you were talking, someone who comes to my mind is Alexis Ohanian, the co-founder of Reddit. He's also the husband of Serena Williams, who recently stepped down from his position, executive chairman position, because he really wants to not only take leadership and show that he wants to build a future for his daughter, but also demonstrate what true allyship looks like. I couldn't agree with you more, Tanya, where, there needs to be somebody from the Indigenous community who actually carries that true conviction of the actual issues and is not just a middle person who takes the information, relays it to other authorities, but is somebody who actually carries that true conviction. And you can't carry a true conviction on something if you actually don't truly represent that group.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Someone on our social media feed just mentioned this is like having a man lead like a women's issues group, or somebody who's from there are so many situations that we can think of which is not appropriate to the situation. If the goal here is to help women, is to help girls in specific communities like the Indigenous community, I can't even imagine how you would feel, Tanya, and the other women on this council would feel because it is the very reason why there are so many problems in the system in the first place, to sit and face someone who is not from your community and may even by some people be looked at as part of the problematic leadership that has gotten all of us to this place in the first place.
You know, being an ally means stepping aside. This is colonialism 2.0. You know, we have seen this time and time again, people speaking for us. And I commend Jill Dunlop for accepting this role and wanting to do so in good faith, but she should be stepping aside. And I just wanted to say, too, that Premier Ford has advisors in his office. He has people in his inner circle. There is no reason why he can't have an Indigenous woman in his inner circle, being that person, being the advisor who is chairing that committee and who also has his ear. You know, I think that they would be an olive branch from the Ford government, especially in these times when everyone is talking about what they can do for change. This is something they can do for change. By the appointment of MPP Jill Dunlop, they have stepped backwards. They don't look like they're listening.